Greetings, Father Joe here, your friendly neighborhood pastor, coming to you from St. Patrick's Church in lovely Highland Mills, New York. Today is the 32nd Sunday in Ordinary Time. It is also the first Sunday in November, which means it is Marathon Sunday in New York City, which means I wish I was in New York running. However, since I got a hip replacement, I am no longer running, so I am happily coming to you today from St. Patrick's Church. In our readings today, we have two widows. The widow in Zarephath, who is not Jewish, but gives Elijah a cup of water and then bread, and then has enough to eat for a year. And then we have the old widow in our gospel who gives just a couple of pennies, and Jesus tells us that she has given more than everyone else. What she, from her not from her abundance, from her necessities. And so she has nothing else to live on. And think about that. Today, in both cases, the widows were willing to lay down their life. We think of Jesus' death on the cross as, oh my gosh, he gave his whole life. But we don't think about that much when someone simply gives a glass of water or a little cake or a few pennies. But they are giving their whole life. So if you've got kids, I recommend the story of Stone Soup, which I'm updating slightly. 3 nuns were sent to a small village in the mountains where they had a church, but the people, were barely speaking to each other and just nothing was working. And so the sisters come, and they don't bring much. They bring one big pot. And they go back into the old convent, and they bring out a big place to make a fire, and they start boiling water. And they put in the pot a stone, and they cover the pot, and they're cooking the pot. And someone comes by and says, "Sisters, what are you doing?" And Sister Mary says, by the way, they're all going to be Sister Mary. Sister Mary says, "Oh, we're making stone soup. Would you like some? It won't be ready for a little while, but would you like some?" And the person says, "Well, yes, times are hard. It tastes better with garnish. Do you have any salt or pepper?" "Oh, sure. So go and get some salt and pepper." Another neighbor sees what's going on and comes out to see and says, "What are you guys doing?" "Oh, we're making a huge pot of stone soup." "Oh, would you like some?" "Sure. Stone soup works better with, a little bit of garnish. Do you think you could, do you have any carrots or celery?" "Well, I've got a little." And so they go and they get the celery and then bay leaves and oregano, and I don't know what else you put into stone soup, but people bring potatoes and vegetables, and a couple of people bring a little bit of meat. And finally the stone soup is ready, and they have half of the village there, and they bring out their bowls and they feed the people with this stone soup. And the villagers said, "Well, what about the stone?" And Sister says, "Oh, well, no, that's the essential part for the next soup. You always have to keep a little bit left to start the next stone soup." But what did they do? They asked for just a little bit. And because of that, the entire town had a huge feast, and they were brought together. So what does Elijah do? He starts by asking for just a cup of water. And the widow's willing to give him a cup of water. And he says, well, how about a little bit of cake? Or, well, a little bread cake, not cake. And she says, we're going to die. I was going to go and make some bread. I've got nothing left except this. And Elijah says, go and make me a cake. Then you can make food for you and your son. And you will have enough flour for a year. And by the way, it's not just enough flour, but it's enough flour for her and for her son and for the prophet Elijah. Then we go to our gospel. And what does the woman put in? Nothing huge. A couple of pennies. And Jesus says that she has given more than everyone else because they gave out of their surplus. And she gave the only thing that she had to live on. God does not start by asking us to give our whole life, to lay down our life. God prepares us for this by asking us for little things. So we need to be aware of what those little things are. A cup of cold water. Who wouldn't give that to someone? But it's important because it means we're opening our hearts. We are preparing for not stone soup, not some earthly festival, but the wedding feast of the Lamb, the banquet in heaven. And God wants us all to be part of that. And imagine how wonderful that will be when we come into the wedding feast of the Lamb. We're united with all those people that we helped. We are going to be greeted by the poor and the lame and the people who had no one to pray for them. And they're going to welcome us in with open arms. And we are all going to be filled with joy. God does that little by little in our life. So if you've got children, bring them to Mass. Invite them to come. Maybe during the week, learn one prayer. In our bulletin and in our flock notes, we've sent out a short prayer for the poor souls in purgatory. It takes almost no time at all to say the prayer. May the souls of the faithful departed, through the mercy of God, rest in peace. That may not seem like much to you, but praying for the poor souls in purgatory is huge. So, what is God calling you to do today? This is Marathon Sunday. God is not asking any of us to run the marathon. But if he was going to ask you to run the marathon, he would ask you by starting by walking around the block. Not even walking fast. Just go out and take a walk. But you'd never run the marathon if you hadn't started with that little bit. So thank God for those little invitations that he gives to us. And then we can be like those widows or like the three Sister Marys who made the stone soup. We can be united in offering ourselves and inviting and inspiring others to do the same. God bless you.